So, Kelly, this week we have the Oscars coming up. So we're going to do a little bit of a special edition and talk about all of the Best Picture nominees and what we thought of them, if we have any thoughts.
Yeah, if we have thoughts, yeah.
So, first up, we've got Ford v. Ferrari. Any thoughts on that one?
Well, I didn't personally see it. That was one I didn't catch. I heard it because I sit very close to the projector, so I heard cars zooming around a lot, but that's about all I got out of that film.
So that's one of the ones that I haven't seen and I have no plans to see.
Yeah, it looks like good acting, but I'm not sure. It didn't really pull at me. So yeah,
same here. So next we move on to The Irishman, which I have not seen either.
Again here, I haven't seen.
It is 3 hours, which is a little bit of a drawback, but I do plan on seeing this one eventually.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think the things I've heard about it have been, it's three well-known actors at the top of their craft, worth seeing for that. It's Scorsese at the top of his craft. I'm not personally a huge Scorsese fan, like honest moment.
Don't admit.
Yeah, I know. Honest moment, I'm not a huge Scorsese fan. So yeah, it was mostly just, it wasn't calling to me like some of the other films we've brought in recently.
Yeah, I did think that the subject material sounded really interesting, and I don't know, that was about it. Other than that, I did hear a lot about how the CGI was very odd. Yeah, very distracting. Otherwise, I've heard very good things, and I've heard some mixed things too. So, yeah, I'm excited to eventually see it, but for now, I have no real opinions on it. And next up, we've got Jojo Rabbit.
Jojo Rabbit. Okay, Jojo Rabbit was one of my favorites this year. I just thought it was so original and so different, and I think a really loving entry into the canon of Holocaust films.
Definitely, yeah.
And just, I think I think I said this when we reviewed it earlier, but I just thought the comedy made even the tiniest moments of Nazi abuse that much more poignant and horrifying. In a way that, like, when you're watching a Holocaust film that's just tragedy after tragedy after tragedy, you end up pretty numb by the end. And I thought this one, just every single little abuse, every single loss just hit you so hard.
It pulls the emotion out of you in a way that almost none of the other films that I saw did. And it was like, even in moments that are supposed to be like really almost joyous, I found myself just like bawling because of this constant back and forth that really made sense for the movie, and it was just it was so good all around. I really liked it.
And can we just talk about Taika Waititi is
oh my god, he was
favorite director,
hilarious,
and he was amazing in the film, and like Scarlett Johansson I loved as the mom character.
She was great.
She was so nuanced and so complicated, and the little boy, it was just, I thought it was a great film.
And the girl too was one of my favorite characters. And just like that, the ending, that was one of my favorite endings of the whole year. So, so next we've got Joker, which I've seen.
I have not seen. I couldn't bring myself to see it. It just didn't look like my cup of tea. But
I saw it because of all of the op-eds that said don't see it, and I was like, okay, I'm definitely gonna see it then. It turned out to not be the scary, horrible incel fuel that I kept seeing that they were talking about it being. It actually was very much more, in my opinion, a story of class consciousness and somebody who's taking a class struggle and turning it into his own struggle, and people around kind of forming this revolution around this guy who has no concept of what he actually wants. All he thinks about is himself. So I thought it was just a really interesting, complicated view of, I don't know, a class conscious struggle that is very important for these days. So I do think it's the Joker of this time period. So I thought that there was some really good stuff in there, and otherwise, I definitely probably isn't one of my top movies of the year, but when I saw it, I was kind of blown away by how much I actually ended up liking it, because I was going in expecting that it was going to be terrible. Yeah. So.
All right, interesting. That's very good.
So next up, we've got Little Women, which we both saw.
We both saw. This is where we differed in opinion.
Yes.
I loved it. I thought it was just such a lovely film. I thought the acting was brilliant. I just loved seeing a movie that focused in on women and treated the men as very secondary characters. Because, I mean, just looking at the Oscar nominees, not
a lot of choices.
Not many women. So I just loved that. Saoirse Ronan is always incredible. And Laura Dern I thought was amazing. And then
Laura Dern killed it this year, by the way. I loved her in everything that I saw.
Year of Laura Dern. And Greta Gerwig, I just love the way she writes, and I love the way she sheds light on women's stories. And I thought this one was so great, especially the kind of twist ending that I still don't want to give away because I'm still worried people haven't seen it. But yeah, I just thought the way she rewrote Little Women for this age of women was really great. I thought that taking such a beloved, well-known story and making it a completely new film was really brilliantly done. Yeah.
Right, and that makes me appreciate it more. I cannot explain why I didn't like it as much as I was hoping I would.
Yeah.
But it was just one of these things where I think I kind of knew that I never really liked the story that much.
Right.
And so it wasn't different enough to really capture me anew.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately that one wasn't one of my favorites of the year. But it definitely had some really great moments, and the acting I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, totally.
So next up, we've got Marriage Story.
Yes.
Which we've both seen now.
I haven't seen it.
Oh,
actually.
okay.
Yeah.
I just saw it over
Okay.
the weekend, and I really liked it a lot. I thought it was another one of my favorites of the year. I don't really know. It's hard because I'm still kind of digesting it.
Right,
I split it up into 2 parts and finished it yesterday, and I thought that it was just a very different look at a marriage, and watching these 2 people having to split up instead of kind of coming together. It's I can't think of many movies that are so focused on 2 people just separating, and also the legal system around it, and how kind of just ridiculous it is for both parties, but particularly for the guy in this situation, but also, so you're kind of given this situation where you really feel sorry for both characters, and both of them are just struggling to deal with this separation, and it's rough. It's rough to watch.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one I want to see. I haven't had the time yet, but I'm hoping to watch it before the Oscars because I've heard so many great things. And again, Laura Dern sounds like she rocked it. So.
She is definitely one of my favorite parts of that movie.
And Scarlett Johansson is double nominee this year because she's nominated in the Best Actress and Best Leading and Supporting. And so I love me some Scarlett Johansson. I think she's wonderful. And so
I thought she was so good in this movie.
Yeah.
And I thought their chemistry and lack of chemistry was really good.
Yeah.
It worked so well in the movie.
Yeah.
So moving on to 1917, which we did both see.
Yes, we did both see, and we just reviewed. So
yes.
That one's pretty fresh for me. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought, for me, what was most stunning about it was the technicality of the filmmaking. I mean, I just think it was a masterwork in so many categories. I mean, looking through the other categories, while I'm not sure I'd pick 1917 as my best picture pick, in best editing, best sound mixing, best all the technical categories, best score, for me, it's hands down the best of all of those categories because I just think it was a technical masterwork. And so I think in the review I said, like, the acting didn't grab me as much as I wanted it to. There were some parts of the plot that I thought were a little strange or convoluted, but like, yeah, it was just the cinematography and the score and all of it just contributed. It was just a technically fantastic film.
Yeah.
So while I'm not sure I'd hand it Best Picture, I think it deserves a lot of the other best categories.
Yeah, and I absolutely loved it. And I think part of it was because I was going in just kind of being like, oh, God, one of these I have to sit through. And it was not at all what I expected it to be. And I loved the plot device of this journey. I mean, that was definitely my favorite thing, was following just these two characters while they go on this really dangerous journey, and it just really that was great. And everything that you mentioned, fantastic. I was just like blown away by the cinematography and everything that went into it. So that was a really, really top movie in my opinion this year.
Absolutely.
And next we've got Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which
you.
I have seen, and not one of my favorite Tarantino movies, to be honest. I would say I think there were things about it that were really cool. There were also a lot of things about it that I was confused why the choice was made. It made it kind of brought up that theory about the Manson cult as being kind of this like really hippie group, and it didn't bring up any of the really like white supremacist, like really racist side that I think is missing from a lot of narratives about the Manson murders. So I did take issue a little bit with how it was portraying them as just these like, dumb liberal hippies, whereas, the hero in it is like this good old boy Western fighter guy. And I think that was part of it. And I just didn't really get why that was there. It didn't feel like it was really being poignant in any way. And otherwise, I guess it was just supposed to be kind of a fairy tale version of, if these people had existed when the murders happened. And it was strange. It was, long story short, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm going to be surprised if it actually wins, but yeah.
I thought, things about it, really great. The acting, I thought Leonardo DiCaprio was really, really good in it. Otherwise, that's all I got to say on it.
Well, and our last one is Parasite. Phoebe, I know you and I both love this movie. So.
Yes. Oh my God, my love affair of the year. I absolutely loved everything about Parasite. I can't think of one thing that was a drawback for me. Oh my God. Just that movie just spoke to me in so many ways. It had, like this class element. It had humor. It had kind of thriller aspects. It was tense. Oh my gosh, everything about it just was so good. And so many surprises along the way. And the acting was fantastic. And just the editing, which, I am all for great editing. I thought the editing in that movie was so cool.
I thought it was one of the most original movies I've ever seen. I mean, I think it's like that and Jojo Rabbit were both, if we're talking about originality, like those are in stiff competition, I think, against one another for like, who came up with this? Because this is amazing. But I thought it was super unique. I've never seen anything like it, and it was so genre bending. And was it a thriller? Was it a murdery thing? Like it was really, really interesting. I'm not sure where it belongs in the genre.
No idea.
which is fun, actually. It was really, really fun, and one of the things I liked about it. I also it's sometimes hard, I think, to get into foreign films because of the language barrier. I love watching Spanish language foreign films because I'm fluent in Spanish, so those are easy for me. But yeah, I didn't find that with this one. I just thought the acting was so compelling, it didn't even matter.
Right.
Yeah.
I almost forget that it's a foreign language film altogether.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in an insulting way or anything.
No,
it's just like, it's so engaging that it's like, I felt like I was hearing them saying everything that they said.
Yes. And the actors were so good at communicating non-verbally that it really, like, there were times I wasn't even paying attention to the subtitles because it didn't feel like it mattered. You know, it was just so engaging and wonderful. And I was so intrigued and interested in looking at everything else on the screen that the subtitles were like the least important thing to me.
Which is so important for a subtitled movie because everybody's complaint about subtitles is I don't want to be paying more attention to the words than the rest of exactly.
Yeah, and I thought what was interesting about this one is you really didn't need to. So I thought that was really fascinating about the film was just like everything else was so engaging that it was like, I don't even care if I don't understand this dialogue. This is just a fascinating film. I agree with you. It was just a brilliant, brilliant film.
Okay, so to wrap up, Kelly, what would you choose as your best picture if you were the Academy?
So if I myself were the entire Academy,
what do you choose?
I would choose Jojo Rabbit. I loved it so much. It was so original and different. I thought it was really great, and it was eye-opening, and it made me feel a lot of feels. And I think comparing it to the others, a lot of them, Ford v Ferrari, Marriage Story, like they're really well done films, but I've heard those stories before. And this one was just totally, totally different, I thought. Yeah.
Right. And in the same vein, my best picture would definitely be Parasite because, again, the originality, it's something I've never in my life seen anything like. And it was just, it was everything to me this year. It was so good. And so hopefully one of those two.
Let's see. Let's see what wins. So we can report on that next week. We can let everybody know. We
duke it out.
Yeah, there you go. Who's right, who's wrong, or maybe we're both wrong. We'll find out.
One of the ones we didn't see probably gets chosen. Well, thanks so much for talking to me, Kelly.
Thank you, Phoebe.
Thank you guys for watching.